The following program does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of the staff, management, or ownership of this station.
The following pre-recorded program is brought to you by Conservative Partnership Institute. Now, let the uprising begin.
There are only two genders, and one of them is right here. It's the box that rocks. This is the Angela Box Show on AM 1070 and FM 103.3. The Answer.
Well, hello, once again, all my fellow patriots and you filthy leftist stalkers out there. You are listening to the Angela Box Show. My name is Angela Box. I want to thank Conservative Partnership Institute, Mark Meadows Group, umbrella group for a lot of different groups like America First Legal, for sponsoring this show, for helping me get my content out there because, y'all, the Angela Box juggernaut is just getting started. Okay. Every week on my show, I like to give a sea turtle-killing plastic straw to a filthy leftist or sometimes a conglomerate of filthy left eye or some Republicans that richly deserve it. And this week, y'all, this is like, tell me you're planning a false flag event without telling me you're planning a false flag event. So the sea turtle-killing plastic straw is going to whoever is doing this crap, whoever's doing the most to try and basically set up the next false flag event. So we had three instances this week of things that are going on that are just so obvious to anyone paying attention. Earlier this week, we had this dude try and drive a box truck, a U-Haul truck, into the White House. He said, I want to kill the president and I want to take over the government. And when they catch this guy, it's basically, they're even diversity hiring in the false flags because they're saying he's a white supremacist and all that he had in this U-Haul was a Nazi flag, because that's what you do when you try and go kill the president and take over the government, is you have a swastika in the back of your truck. So this guy with the Tim McVeigh truck tries to drive into the White House, and his name is Sai Varshith Kandula, who, spoiler alert, is not white. And is not a white supremacist, is one of their plants, I think. And then another thing they did this week was they had this, it was a blurb, and it was a blink if you miss it news story. Fox News had it. And I'm not watching Fox News anymore, obviously, and you aren't either. Their ratings prove it. But this was on Twitter. Brett Baer said that a train full of lethal chemicals, the kind of chemicals that were used in the Oklahoma City bombing to make explosives, somehow one of these train cars just went poof, adios, they can't account for the chemicals. And then on the very same day, ladies and gentlemen, there was a news story that said that the senators, all 100 senators, were offered satellite phones just in case communications happen to go down. And, of course, they go, it's because of January 6th that they had to give satellite phones to the senators. I mean, like, come on, man. Come on. As the sack of potatoes Peepaw would say, come on, man. Like, do you think we're stupid? Yes, they do think we're stupid. So let us have a swig of our water out of our sea turtle-killing plastic straw for these filthy leftists who think we're stupid. Okay. Guys, the Texas legislature is ending this week. They have until midnight the day before Memorial Day, which I believe is the last day of May, to finish the session. And we've got a lot of stuff that they're trying to shove through at the last minute. I mean, some of them is great stuff, and some of them, the things that have been killed, is going to infuriate you. So this week I was able to see Andy Kahn, who is the head of Houston Crime Stoppers, speak at a meeting that I go to. I'm not going to name the meeting in case, people want to firebomb it next time. But he was a great speaker. And Andy Kahn is a one-man wrecking ball to these criminal justice, quote-unquote, reformers who want to basically make sure all the felons get released onto your streets and make sure that felons don't receive all this cash bond crap or no cash bail or released on personal recognizance, etc. So there was a bill that Senator Joan Huffman was doing. It was called Senate Joint Resolution 44, and it failed, by the way. And what it would be would be that it would give discretion to magistrate judges, because these magistrate judges have a whole lot of power that you don't know about. Magistrate judges have no authority right now to deny bail to offenders. So these insane DAs, these insane commissioners' courts, insane, leftists that have run roughshod over our legal system have made it so that these violent felons are released without bond, released on their personal recognizance. So this bill simply would have said, if you are a violent felon, if you have committed a capital crime, because y'all, there are people that commit capital murder that are literally out on the streets. There are people with 4, 5, 6, 7 bonds against them that are out on the streets. So this Senate joint resolution that Huffman was proposing would simply have allowed magistrate judges to have discretion on whether or not to issue bail to these violent offenders. And guess who stopped it, ladies and gentlemen? That's right, Democrats. And also Senate Bill 1318 didn't go through either. And here's why, guys. Can we keep it 100? I'm going to keep it 100. The reason that you don't see groups like Moms Demand Action, little David Hogg of one of the survivors of the Parkland shooting who got to go to Harvard and you didn't. David Hogg working with Moms Demand Action when every time there's a mass shooting or a school shooting, what do these jerks do? They come up and they start talking about confiscating your weapons because that's all it's been about from day one. They want to dismantle the Second Amendment. And we now know, thanks to James O'Keefe Group, OMG Media, which is great. James O'Keefe's group has on tape John Fetterman his staff talking about, yeah, we want to dismantle the Second Amendment. Duh. And they're talking about their little pet reporters they go to, they feed information to. Anyway, the reason they want this to happen is because they want to dismantle the Second Amendment. And the reason that Democrats don't want to talk about actual gun violence, don't want to talk about actual violent criminals who should not have weapons, who should not have machine guns, who should not have other sorts of weapons, is because, wait for it, most of these people committing the crimes are the wrong race. That's right. And by the wrong race, I mean that they're African American. So they don't want to talk about the violent crime going on the city streets of Houston because it's black people doing it. That is the reason, guys, or it's minorities doing it. That is the reason. So when you wonder why nothing gets done about gun violence or doing something that would actually stop criminals like this, thank a Democrat. Because the Democrats, it's not good optics for them. If they put black people in jail, it's not good optics for them. That's how sick the Democrat Party is. That's how sick the left is. That's how sick groups like Moms Demand Action are, because they sit around and they love it. That's right, I said it. They love it when they can fundraise and PR off the latest school shooting or the latest mass shooting, but they don't want to look 1 second into what's going on in Chicago every weekend or what's going on in the streets of Houston every day. They don't care about that. They could care less. So thank you, Democrats, for not allowing these bills to pass. You suck, and I'm going to be here to expose and humiliate you. Y'all, I'm just getting started. You are listening to the Angela Box Show on AM 1070 The Answer. I'm Angela Box. Be right back.
Infuriating the far left, Democrats, socialists, and communists. It's Angela Box on AM 1070 and FM 1033. The Answer.
I cannot tell you how much schadenfreude and pleasure I get when I hear someone doing a voiceover talking about filthy leftist stalkers. I'm like, I made that up. That's me. Okay, guys, you are listening to the Angela Box Show. I'm actually super, super thrilled to have a man who has been through hell and back. His name is Chris Beck, former Navy SEAL, SEAL Team 6, like the biggest, baddest Navy SEAL you could be. And Chris's story is so fascinating because after he came out of the military, he decided to transition. And now that Pride Month is almost here, and gird your loins, as I say, June is almost upon us, Chris is transitioned, and then he's now detransitioning, and he has a warning for everybody out there who is falling in line with this cult, that it is dangerous and it is coming for our kids. So welcome, Chris Beck, to the Angela Box Show. Thank you so much for coming on with me.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so tell everyone a little bit, kind of like the genesis of your story and how you decided you wanted to transition into being a transgender woman, and what changed your mind.
Okay, well, so I grew up in a very Christian atmosphere where the word sex wasn't even said, and I knew nothing about the birds and the bees. I was actually a virgin until I was like 23 years old. So the whole stuff was very confusing to me. So, and just like a lot of girls who were tomboys, I did have some jealousy from my older sister, and I had some other things going on. And so it was a little bit of gender confusion, as a kid going through puberty. But because I grew up the way I grew up, I never had any outlets, and I never had any explanations. I never had anything going on. So take all of that as my childhood, then go into the military. So for 20 years, I was in the Navy SEALs. And again, I was in a very, tight environment where, I didn't do anything. I was never into a lot of stuff, and I still had all these thoughts in the back of my head, but I never pursued any of it. I retired in 2011, and now I'm done. I'm going, okay, I did my entire life journey. I went through the SEALs, 20 years, I'm retired, and so I started kind of looking at the world through some different eyes. And so I started really digging into, I was divorced a couple times at that time. So I've gone through marriage, and I have kids, and I'm still like highly confused about a lot of stuff because I never had explanations, and I never dug into this. So I started kind of, going around the community a little bit, the LGBTQ community, the alphabet community, the rainbow community, whatever they want to go by now. So, and as soon as I started stepping my foot into that community, and especially being a little bit femme, they love bomb. And love bombing is a term the Moonies, I think, the cults, the Moonies came up with this term, love bombing, and they did the technique. The technique is, as soon as somebody starts coming around, you love bomb them. You hug them and you drape them with validation. You drape them with every accolade and all the other stuff you can give them. And then they're going, oh, my gosh, I'm totally turned away from my SEAL team brothers sometimes. I'm turned away from my family. I'm turned away from everywhere else. I step foot in this community, and suddenly I am validated, fully validated, accolades and love bombing. So as soon as that started happening, I was like, wow, I found a community that accepts me. And so I started going into it more. Then I went into it more. And the next thing you know, I'm getting dressed up in female clothing. And before I would do it a little bit, but it wasn't an identity. It was just me just trying to figure stuff out. Now it's turned into a full-blown identity. Now I'm fully, oh, my gosh, I can be Christian. I can be happy. I have people that love me. And so I'm doing it, and I'm doing full-blown. And so then I come out in the open. I'll be like, when I come out in the open, I have corporations going, oh, my gosh, Kristen, hey, come give us a speech. So I'm in all these corporations now. I'm giving speeches. I'm part of a speakers bureau now, giving these freedom speeches about liberty and about what America should be about. It's about true liberty for all. And they're paying me $15,000 to give a 1-hour speech from this speakers bureau in Washington, D.C. called Leading Authorities. So I'm doing really good, as I thought. But then I start really digging into this. Then I start my master's degree in mental health counseling. Now I'm going into deep psychology. I'm going into human development. I'm going into childhood development. I'm doing all this stuff in my master's degree. And I'm starting to really find out. I was going, wow, this is what happened. And then I start regretting. I start kind of digging in deeper. Then I start finding all the old demons, the demons that were there from childhood, the demons that were trauma as a kid, the demons that were there as an adult in the SEAL teams, PTSD and traumatic brain injury and all these other traumas. And I started going, wow, this is the road I took. And then I start regretting this road. And then I start going, oh, my gosh. Then I find I meet up with this lady, Courtney, who is now my fiance, and she's also digging in. She's also a women and gender study graduate and has a lot of other knowledge. So she's facing me with a lot of the demons. She's telling me, well, why would you do this? Why did you think you were a woman? Why do all these trans people only do the stereotypes? Why do they get dressed up the way they get dressed up? And I said, why are you doing it? And I started asking myself the same questions. So this is why the transgender community right now, they do 1 or 2 sessions with a psychologist, and then they start dressing up and doing all this stuff, and then all of a sudden they get surgeries. Once you get surgeries, you're kind of done. It's really hard to go back after you get surgeries. So they only do 1 or 2 sessions with psychologists because they're afraid to face the real truth. They're afraid to face the demons. I faced all these demons, and I saw what I was doing. I just highly regret me giving any speech. I don't regret giving speeches about liberty, because I do believe in liberty, true liberty. I don't believe in traps. I don't believe in love bombing. I don't believe in the fake narrative that they give. There's only one side. They never give the full truth. The fact is, for these kids, before puberty especially, 80% of the children who are having gender confusion, 80% of those tomboys, 80% of those boys who just like to get dressed up or wear pink once in a while, 80% of them will alleviate. All that confusion is gone when they're out of puberty. So you got to figure 8 out of 10 of these kids that they're indoctrinating, they're love bombing, 8 out of 10 of them are not transgender. 8 out of 10 of them are not gay. 8 out of 10 of them are not anything. They're just confused kids, just trying to be kids, figuring out their life. 8 out of 10 of those girls who are tomboys, they're just tomboys. They're just goofing off. They just want to be with their older brother. They want to do whatever. All these kids are being indoctrinated. They're getting destroyed. They're getting surgeries. They're getting double mastectomies. They're on puberty blockers. You know, every one of them kids that starts puberty blockers, they're going to be on stuff their entire lives. They're now drugs. They're pharmaceutical indoctrinated. They're going to be on them for their whole life. They will never have an orgasm. If they do those puberty blockers as a kid, those kids' sexual identity is being destroyed. They won't even have an orgasm when they get old. And nobody's telling them all this truth. If they do any one of these gender surgeries, double mastectomy, you can't go back. You can, if you're a female tomboy and you get a double mastectomy, you cannot go back. And a lot of surgeries go bad. The leading cause of death in America is medical malpractice, or surgeons who do things wrong. That's a leading cause of death. Why don't we ever talk about that? So when you step foot inside of that hospital and you start getting these elective surgeries, gender surgery is elective. If you get one of these elective surgeries, you have a really high chance of never getting out of that hospital. You will be in a hospital forever. You're a permanent patient. You will be on drugs the rest of your life. That's a fact. One of these gender surgeries is $400,000 in the pockets of that hospital. One surgery. You don't think this is about money? You don't find that suspicious? I like that little term. You don't find it suspicious? There are so many things I can talk about right now. I know we only have a very short time for me to talk about this. That's why I'm kind of rambling really fast. I want to get this information out there. I want parents. You need to know the truth. These kids, 80% of them, will grow out of it. They're not suicidal. They're tricking you and telling you your kid is suicidal. That's a lie. Most of those kids right now, if you brought them in there with a therapist that was actually truly a therapist, not an indoctrination specialist, if they really got true therapy, you would find that they are not suicidal. They just have anxiety. They have a bunch of other stuff. I could go through the entire thing. You don't do surgeries on kids if they have, anorexia. You don't cut them up if they have bulimia. You don't cut them up if they have, some other stuff going on in their lives. Kids go through a lot of stuff. Being a kid is tough. Being a kid nowadays, oh my gosh, they're being indoctrinated into surgery and big pharma, drugs. This is just so wrong. We're destroying our child's lives. We're destroying the entire next generation is being destroyed by adults who are greedy for money, who are greedy for drugs and pharmaceutical and surgeries, and it's all about money. And it just makes me so angry.
Yeah.
So I'm angry about this.
No, and I mean, it comes through. And the thing that makes me angry is that when you were transgender, let's say, and your name was Kristen, and you wrote this book called Lady Valor, you were on CNN and you were feted by all the quote right people, and as long as your narrative matched the dominant narrative, that you were celebrated. Yep. And the second you were like, let me rethink this, and thank God you did not have your bottom surgery, I might add, but the minute you started to rethink this, they dropped you from your speakers bureau. No media wanted to talk to you, and you've been blackballed. And it's like that with anybody who tells the truth. And I think the thing you said about
it's a cult.
It's a cult. It's absolutely a cult.
It's a full cult.
And the fact that these people, like you said, big pharma. I mean, we saw this go on with the Rona crap, with the vaccines. They want you drugged up. They make tons and tons of money. Vanderbilt University got busted with saying, wow, we're going to have permanent patients with these kids. And I didn't know that until we talked yesterday that you did not have an orgasm if you've had these surgeries. I had no idea, or got puberty blockers the rest of your life. I mean, I knew these people became sterile, which is, again, part of their agenda, but I had no idea that they didn't have any sexual gratification. And it's just, if people really knew this, and the fact that they only had 2 counseling sessions before putting these kids onto puberty blockers that are going to change their lives forever, it is disgusting. It is evil. Chris, what are you doing now?
Evil.
What are you doing now, and how can people reach you and help what you're doing?
So my social media, all of my social media is the same. It's Valor with the number 4 US, Valor for Us. So if you follow me on social media, you'll see kind of the things I'm working on. And I'm talking about this, left and right. I also go to a lot of churches and I give sermons. I'm a minister, and I've been into God my whole life. I just got confused for a little while. But there is a God, our Father, a universal one. There is, one thing that we all need to look at, and that one thing is very powerful, and it's what created this entire universe.
Amen.
And we are made in that image.
Amen.
And the image of God is what I celebrate. The image of God doesn't need to be touched by drugs or surgery. I don't take any pharmaceuticals. I won't even go near a doctor. They are butchers.
Amen.
So I just think that God made us in a wonderful way. And if we just look at that wonderful thing that we are, the human being is such a complicated, amazing, beautiful machine that we don't understand, and we are destroying it. We're destroying it by all these pharmaceuticals. We're destroying it by chemtrails in the skies. We're destroying it by so many things. The processed food that we eat has, antifreeze in it. You would not believe the amount of foods that actually have antifreeze.
Yes.
What is it, glycol, glycerin, something, glycol. It's the same stuff they use for antifreeze in our food.
Well, thank you, Chris Beck, so much for being with me today. You all, you're listening to the Angela Box Show. I'll be right back.
You've tuned into the right place for conservatism. It's the box that rocks. This is the Angela Box Show on AM 1070 and FM 1033. The Answer.
Yeah, Chris Beck, man, there are so many rabbit holes. We could go down like all day. There are rabbit holes. And when you start understanding that everything is connected, like once you see, you can't unsee. Like it's all connected. And he was getting into some things at the end there that had we had more time, I would have loved to jump in with him, but such is the medium of radio. Okay, gird your loins, as I mentioned last week. Gird your loins because it's almost June. It's coming. And they are truly, the alphabet people are just full court pressing it, like to the point where I'm sitting back going, y'all need therapy. Like there's something wrong with y'all. Like, why do you feel the need to shove sexualized material and sexualized behavior in front of all of us, not to mention children? So I mentioned there is some good news that came out of Texas legislature this session. There was an election reform bill that, unfortunately, it's not going to do anything for the 2022 election. We're going to have all those lawsuits go through the courts. And, spoiler alert, the Democrats, they're doing everything possible to make sure that those cases never see a judge, okay? They are doing it. They are doing the most to make sure that all those election lawsuits continue to have to just be dragged out. I wonder why. So weird, right? Anyway, because, the Democrats, they don't cheat. They never cheat. How dare you suggest such a thing? They don't cheat, and you're not allowed to talk about it, but I digress. So that was a good thing that Senator Betancourt got pushed through. Another good thing that got pushed through is a common sense law that Andy Kahn's group, Crime Stoppers, was working with legislatures to push through, which was, again, common sense. It is now illegal to remove, tamper with an ankle monitor, which it wasn't illegal before because we live in clown world. So now that's on the books, so yay. And then another thing that's on the books that has the groomers, if you will, clutching their pearls, and as I will say to you, clutch your pearls elsewhere. This is House Bill 4520 by State Rep Cody Harris. It is approved a measure to protect kids from teachers and librarians who expose children to harmful material. And this is from the Texas Scorecard, which is relatively plays it straight. So basically, here's what it is. If you're a librarian and in your library at a school, you have books like Genderqueer or This Book is Gay or anything that is sexually explicit in front of minors. And y'all, these books, and I mentioned a week or so ago, this ain't Judy Blume stuff, okay? This is super, super, super explicit. Like, it's so explicit that we can't read it out loud at the HISD meetings. That's how explicit it is. They like, oh, you can't say that, but yet it's in your libraries. So that's good. That's good. But it doesn't matter because these people are on a mission to sexualize your children. And Target is now, if you've been in a Target in the last few weeks, you've seen the Pride section. It's already popped up. And at HEB, because we need woke groceries, evidently, and we need gay groceries. At all these stores now, all these displays coming up for Pride Month. And, oh, it's June, it's Pride Month. And literally, there are shirts in Target right now targeting children that says, trans kids aren't going anywhere. And little kid shirts that say queer, queer, queer. And my mom's a lesbian. And all just bathing suits that have tuck abilities. So if you're a transgender man and you haven't chopped off your junk yet, you can have a tuck bathing suit like they're doing with Adidas and other things. And Target will say, oh, that's not geared towards children. But it's literally right next to shirts. Little kid shirts like for 8-year-olds that say queer, queer, queer. No, you're not indoctrinating children. No. I mean, look, here's another one. Tell me you're a groomer without telling me you're a groomer. Here's the best way to prove that the alphabet people aren't coming for your children is by canceling an event for Pride Month when you realize you won't have access to children, which is exactly what the Tampa Pride Festival did. Because when they realized they couldn't have access to children, they literally canceled the Pride event. And one of Joe Biden's buddies, this Little Miss Hot Mess, this drag queen, who has a book that the White House is like sponsoring this book for this drag queen to write that's aimed at children. He talks about the fact that they are coming for your children, that drag is used now as a political movement to get in with the kids. We got the Dodgers out there, LA Dodgers, bending the knee to these woke psychopaths, the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, these drag queens that, like, it's so sacrilegious, you guys. Like, let me step back and miss the lightning. There are these men dressed up as nuns, but they're not, they're all beards. They got white makeup on. They look like demons. They've got rosaries. It's so disgusting. And Dodgers weren't going to allow that to them to come to their Pride night. But then they capitulated to the woke mob because it's LA and that's what woke corporations do. And every corporation is woke now because of ESG, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. But they bent the knee and they allowed the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, these sacrilegious lunatics who want to shove their perversion in front of everybody's face. Allowed them to come to Pride Night, which, of course, children will be at. Now, guys, I'm going to say this for the millionth time, and this goes to corporations like North Face, who I guess want to destroy their company too. Nobody cares if you are gay. Nobody cares if you have a same-sex relationship. Nobody cares. What we have a problem with, and what groups like Gays Against Groomers have been so effective doing, if you don't follow Gays Against Groomers, you need to be, and follow people like Brandon Straka, who started the Walk Away movement. Gay man is not on board with this crap. Normal gay people are not on board with this crap. It's the sexualization. It's the perversion. It's the shoving of a lifestyle into people's faces that people have a problem with. Like, it used to be, and I've said this for many, many years. You know, when the gay community got gay marriage, that was the holy grail. That was the holy grail, all right? They're like, okay, we got it. We got gay marriage. And most normal gay people are like, we just wanted the right to get married. We just wanted to be treated like everybody else. Fine. I don't personally believe in gay marriage. I think marriage is between a man and a woman, but I have no problem with whatever you want to call it, okay? Civil union, yes. 100% yes. Because, again, I don't think that if you're gay, you choose that. I think you're born gay. But this other crap is propaganda. It is propaganda. It is grooming. It is peer pressure. It is an onslaught to try and change what humanity is. And that is demonic, ladies and gentlemen. That is satanic. You are telling little kids that the body you're born in, there's something wrong with the body you are born in. Here, let me help you change that. Let me help you change God's creation into something else. That's what we're dealing with here. So most normal gay people are not on board with this crap. At all. But when they got gay marriage, like, well, what's next? Oh, I know. And if you look at the timeline of when transgenderism happened, this is around the time it happened. Was after gay marriage passed. Then they're like, well, what else? We got the Holy Grail. Oh, I guess we can start adding a T to the acronym, and that's when all the other letters grew on the alphabet people acronym. It used to be just LGB. It used to be just LG. Again, I'm old enough to remember when GLAAD, the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, just had G and L in there. So this whole push over the last few years has been purposeful, and it's evil. And especially targeting the kids. It's evil. Now, y'all, it's so all over the place. Like Lizzo went to Nebraska. Lizzo, Miss Body Positive. Lizzo, Miss I'm the new standard of beauty. That's what Lizzo said about herself. Again, it's all connected. Talking about the body positive movement, which I personally think has set women back 100 years. Because, y'all, there are rules. I don't make the rules, but they exist, okay? Men and women are attracted to what they're attracted to. Acting like that when you're 300 pounds, that there's something wrong with you for not being attracted to that. It's the same thing as saying if you're not attracted to a transgender person and you're, quote, straight, then there's something wrong with you. No, if you're attracted to transgender people, that's a fetish. That's a fetish. It's a thing, but it's a fetish. It's not normal, okay? And also being attracted to people who are over, excessive, morbidly obese, that's a fetish also. Can we keep it 100? So Lizzo goes to Nebraska and tells kids that are in her audience, basically, it's evil what Nebraska's governor did. They signed a bill that won't allow sexualized content in front of kids and won't allow children to have these surgeries, which is what's going on in these red states. These governors are putting their feet down, and saying, you're not going to have these surgeries. And so all these woke psychopaths are going out on their concerts like Lizzo, who's morbidly obese, and frankly, I can't believe she hasn't dropped dead yet, because she got vaccinated too, just saying, and telling kids that you should be who you are and blah, blah. Now look, telling someone to be who they are, this is how they warp the meaning of pride. And I've got 1 minute. I'm going to try and wrap this up. This is how they warp the meaning of pride. Yes, you should be proud of who you are. Yes, you should have self-esteem. And yes, it's all great to have self-esteem and being proud of who you are. But they have gaslit you. They have warped the meaning of pride to turn it into something perverted, to turn it into something, saying this, the way you are made is not enough. In order to be accepted in the big group, in the people that make the decisions, in the popular club, you need to change who you are. You shouldn't be proud of who you are. It's disgusting. It's a cult, and I'm not going to shut up about it. And frankly, neither should you. All right, you are listening to The Angela Box Show. I got one more segment. It's the good news segment, and I'm excited about this one. We'll be right back.
It's The Box That Rocks with Angela Box on AM 1070 and FM 103.3. The Answer.
Just over the airways, just like it makes my heart go pitter patter. All right, guys, I've got some good. This is the good news segment, and again, you know what I forgot to tell you guys? If you're tired of this woke crap, of the corporations like Target, who they're having, by the way, Target is having emergency meetings because they don't want another Bud Light situation. So, hey, girls, ladies out there, because we know that Target primarily is women's drug of choice, don't shop at Target anymore. Like, I'm not going to shop. I'm done. Like, I'm going cold turkey off Target. Like, we're all done here. There are plenty of places I can get my stuff. And to that end, there is a kind of a conservative Costco, online Costco out there. It's called Mammoth Nation. And for as low as $25, which is kind of what you pay for Costco, you can go into their marketplace and you can buy basically anything you would need. And you're going around the woke corporations to do it. And you're supporting conservative businesses. And I think that is very important. So go to Mammoth Nation. I have a affiliate code. It's Angela Box. You'll get 30% off of whatever you buy. So go to mammothnation.com. And when you check out, make sure to put the code Angela Box in. Okay. So good news. My conservative hero of the week. And, you know, he's often a conservative hero. But sometimes this guy is better than other times. Ted Cruz. So AOC, that dummy, that woman who has an economics degree from Boston University, how I do not know, and probably a plethora of white suits that she uses to do photo ops at staged border scenes. This heifer treaded light, effed around and found out, okay, with Ted Cruz this week. So there was some snarky guy that sent a tweet to Ted talking about the Civil Rights Act, and Ted responded that, you know, the Republicans actually supported the Civil Rights Act more than the Democrats did. And then AOC said something, well, why don't you want to talk about after the Civil Rights Act, Ted? Which what she means is that there was this alleged switch after the 1960s, and all of a sudden all these Dixiecrats suddenly became Republicans. Now, that is a lie. That has been proven to be a lie. And so Ted Cruz, in Ted Cruz fashion, had the most epic comeback. So epic that this woman had nothing to say. She slithered back into her little hole with her gingeroony boyfriend and didn't say another word. She cried to her beta boyfriend. It was like, Ted Cruz is mean to me. So here's what he said. I'm reading the whole thing because it's good. All right, so Ted responded. First, the Democrat Party founded the KKK. Then the Democrat Party wrote Jim Crow laws. Then the Democrat Party filibustered the Civil Rights Act. Today, the Democrat Party filibusters school choice, trapping millions of children, black kids, in failing schools. Today, the Democrat Party pushes abolishing the police, which results in many more black lives murdered. Today, every Democrat senator voted against my bill to stop D.C. from becoming, I can't read this here, probably a sanctuary city or something like that. Oh, I think the bill was to stop felonious gun users from obtaining guns, which is kind of what I was talking about in my first segment. The Republican Party was founded to, number one, oppose slavery. Our first Republican president was Abe Lincoln, who won the Civil War and ended slavery. It was Republicans who voted for the Civil Rights Act in a much higher percentage than racist Democrats, a.k.a. Dixiecrats. Today, we produce the lowest African-American unemployment ever under the Trump economic boom. Today, we produce the lowest African-American poverty levels ever under the Trump economic boom. Today, in 2017, I passed the largest expansion of federal school choice ever, making 529 plans cover K through 12, over the objection of every single Senate Democrats. Also, just 2 years ago, the Democrat governor of Virginia put the photo of a man dressed as a KKK Klansman on his personal yearbook page. And today, the sitting Democrat president, Joe Biden, or as I call him, Peepaw and the sack of potatoes, gave in 2011 a flowery eulogy for an exalted cyclops of the KKK. Never forget Robert Byrd. And to add to that, the Democrat Party aggressively supports open borders, which has led to the deaths and brutal assaults of thousands of Hispanics. And AOC somehow can't seem to find her white pantsuit to cry over their suffering. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Mic drop. This is how it is done. This is how it is done, ladies and gentlemen. These leftists, when confronted with facts, have nothing. They've got nothing. And the reason these people are put into place as they are, which, you know, AOC will probably never be put out of power. She's going to be there forever, unfortunately, until and unless, you know, she decides to run for senator. Oh, please, God, let that happen, because maybe then she would lose. But it wouldn't matter. She'd still keep her seat. But the reason certain people are put into place. Controlled opposition, like I think Fox News is now. You know, I didn't used to think Fox was controlled opposition. The minute I realized Fox was controlled opposition was on November 3rd, 2020. Was on November 3rd, 2020, when they shut everything down at 10:30 at night Eastern time, and Fox and every other outlet was like, okay, I guess we're just going to go home. And then Fox called Arizona for Biden. That's when I realized it's controlled opposition. They don't want Donald Trump running. And now Rupert Murdoch is going all in on Ron DeSantis, okay? Now, here's where my red flags about DeSantis are waving hot, heavy, and big time. Bigly, as Trump would say. Ron DeSantis is not a billionaire like Donald Trump. Now, most people are not billionaires like Donald Trump. I know that. And I know that politicians need their donor base to run and to get into office. That's generally speaking what happens. But when you're beholden to a donor base or a certain few huge donors, like this guy Ken Griffin, who is a major Republican donor. Also, Ken Griffin gave $1 million to the Barack Obama, the first black presidential library. Oh, yeah. This guy Ken Griffin, all in on Ron DeSantis. Jeb Bush, all in on Ron DeSantis. Karl Rove, all in on Ron DeSantis. All of these establishment types and big money donors, Wall Street types, who are just, want to support DeSantis because they hate Trump. Donald Trump is not beholden to anything or anybody. He comes out and he says, here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I've done. And oh, P.S., I'm going to take out the deep state. Oh, P.S., I'm going to drain the swamp. And the swamp just isn't Democrats. It's Republicans, too. It's the woke media. It's the woke culture. It's the woke corporations. It's the fake news. I'm going to drain the whole frickin' thing. So Donald Trump is a much bigger threat to these people than Ron DeSantis. And here's also something I find very curious. All of these people running, Vivek, who I love, Ramaswamy, he's my favorite also ran, frankly. Vivek Ramaswamy's great. He's not bashing Trump. And on a side note, I don't think Trump bashing DeSantis is a good look. I don't think calling him DeSanctimonious is a good look because, frankly, Ron DeSantis is the best governor in America by a country mile. But Ron DeSantis has governed the way he's Trump Jr. He's Trump Jr. Like, he gets out there, he mixes it up with these leftists, he mixes it up with media, and he tells the truth, and he implements a lot of what Donald Trump did. Certainly with immigration and, the grooming of kids and opportunity zones, etc. Everything that Trump does, DeSantis has done. So his record is fabulous because Donald Trump paved the way. And, when I talk to people who are DeSantis supporters and they're like, Trump has too much baggage, Trump this, Trump that, mean tweets, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, man, if you believe that the 2020 election, at the very least, was #problematic, and if you think the 2020 election, you think it was stolen by many different agencies like the CIA, with K.T. McFarland, actually, who was a Trump advisor, said the CIA is going to try and steal the 2024 election because they did it in 2020 with 51 of these people saying the Hunter Biden laptop was fake. You think that they're not going to do it again? You think that the media is not going to be all in for whoever? And then and they're going to watch Ron DeSantis and Trump destroy each other? So then they think that Trump won't win, and then they'll kneecap Ron DeSantis in 2028. That's what this whole thing is about. They don't want Ron DeSantis as president. Ron DeSantis is Trump Jr., okay? They don't want Trump and they don't want DeSantis, and they think that by these two going at each other, they're going to kneecap both of them. That's what's going on, ladies and gentlemen. And for the life of me, I don't know why Ron DeSantis doesn't see this. All right, guys, that is my time. Please go follow me on my socials. Instagram and Twitter is @TheBoxThatRocks. Angela Box has 1 X. Rocks has 2 X's. Facebook is Angela Box Public. My Truth Social is Angela Box. I'm @Angela Box on YouTube, which got a strike this week, so I can't post with my whopping 6 subscribers. Y'all, I'm on a list. I'm for sure on a list. Angela's Soapbox on YouTube, BitChute, and Rumble. When in doubt, go to my website, angelasoapbox.com. Thank you, Conservative Policy Institute, for believing in me, for getting my content out there. And until next time, America, you've been listening to The Angela Box Show. Keep kicking ass and taking names.
Peace!